Hey guys, welcome to Hughes History. We're going to do a little bit of essay cramming for the exam. You want to kind of lay your bets out on the table here, right? So you click the button and we're going to get ready for an essay on change. How holistic, broad, and evolutionary is that? Change. So sit back and relax. Let's see if we can't get you prepared for an essay. Let's look at what you're going to write in your opening, two great examples, what you're going to write for your close, and then you're going to go and you're going to pass your exam. You're going to get an A+. Good for you. All right, before we get to our examples, let's lay out a thesis, right? The thesis is the big idea. And this particular thesis, there's different big ideas about change, but this particular one is that generally governments are conservative. Governments don't go seek out to do big things because that rocks the boat. Rock the boat, baby. It's don't rock the boat, baby, because you'll tip the boat over. So in a basically laissez-faire kind of condition, the government, I'm not saying the government doesn't do anything, government does a lot, but the government doesn't want to go find problems. You need the government to feel, in a sense, the anger of people about an issue, the fire of protest. And to get that fire lit, because people don't generally light themselves on fire, you need someone to kind of spark that out. That would be what would be called a muckraker. And a muckraker is somebody who stirs the pot, who brings problems to the awareness of America and the world. So this could be a songwriter, it could be a hip-hop artist, it could be a journalist, it could be a director, it could be a screenplay writer. It could be anybody, it could be a newspaper writer that's bringing that problem forward. They're raking the muck. The muck is the problem. They're raking it up and presenting it so people get upset and then they yell and they protest. They light themselves on fire. That fire hits the feet of the government and the government's like, woohoo! Regulations solve the problem, public policy. So let's look at two great examples. That's your thesis. Don't just copy the stupid, directions, guys. Write about that idea. Even use the fire analogy. You'll be like a rock star. So let's look at two examples. One old, one new, one white and one blue. I'm like a rhyming master. Yeah. All right, let's do old first. We're going to try to keep it under 2 minutes. Upton Sinclair, without a doubt. Upton Sinclair is a journalist and a writer. And he goes undercover, like James Bond, like bum, 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 bum. And he writes a book called The Jungle. And The Jungle was meant to be a socialist book. Upton Sinclair was aiming at people's hearts when he wrote about workers' lives and the overcrowdedness of the cities and the low pay and the long hours and the unsafe working conditions and the lack of job security and all of the problems of the workers, trying to make the lives of the workers better. But of course he's doing it in a slaughterhouse and he's writing about the meat. Now, vegetarian, I know, I'm weird, but ew. He's writing about workers falling into acid vats, pieces of their fingers ending up in the meat, rat feces all over the place, rotten meat, like the worst rotten, stinking, cancerous, legionary meat, and it's being pushed into the food supply. So when that book came out, you got the muckraker, Upton Sinclair, he's lighting the fire, right? The book comes out, and America's like, ew! And there's articles and awareness and lobby groups. And it was Teddy Roosevelt who used that incident to call him a muckraker. It was actually a negative connotation like, oh, what a pain in the ass you are. You're raking the muck, baby. But because of that muckraking book, it is Teddy Roosevelt that proposes and Congress passes two laws. You getting ready for the effect? That's the dot, guys. A, the Meat Inspection Act. We're going to regulate the slaughterhouses. We're going to grade meat. We're going to send inspectors in. And number two, we're going to get the FDA, or the Pure Food and Drug Act, the Food and Drug Administration. They're going to label food. They're going to inspect it. They're going to make sure that new drugs, food, and such are going to be safe. So there you go, guys. We have government oversight now. It's a safer society because of these things. And then we roll the button, good strike, go down to the next example. All right, let's go a little bit newer. We're going to go unsafe at any speed, guys. Get into a car in 1965. Good luck if you come out alive. It was Ralph Nader. Today, Ralph Nader is a political figure. He ran for president. Big news in 2000. We're not getting into it. He's an environmentalist. But he was also a huge consumer advocate. And he was a writer. And he wrote this book, a research-based book called Unsafe at Any Speed, where he is lighting the matches of unsafe conditions with cars. The Covair and GM were putting out cars don't have any seat belts. There's no airbags. They're really designed not to be safe. They're designed to be cool. And basically, the car companies aren't putting money into the safety mechanisms because they don't want the price of car costs to go up. So therefore, they're saving money and people are dying. The pollutionary problems of cars, what's called the second collision, like what happened after you would hit a car, the glass would be right there. You go through the glass. It's ugly business. But when that book comes out and people read about these death machines, they're going to certainly lobby GM and they're going to lobby the government for big change. Now, before we get to the big changes, and the big one, I guess, is seatbelt laws. That would be the one I would use in the essay, that because of unsafe at any speed, we get federal regulatory laws that are going to mandate seatbelts. But just an interesting layer into that story, GM saw Ralph Nader as such a threat that they actually tapped his phone. They had tried to get young girls to hook up with the dude so they could ruin his career. They followed him. They gave him harassment phone calls. And because of that, he sued them. And he won his lawsuit. And then he used that money to create a lobby group, which ended up getting us the Clean Air Act and the Environmental Protection Agency. So there you go, GM. Good job. There you go, guys. So when I'm getting to my evaluation now, I have to say something beyond, well, I just said stuff, right? If to get a good grade, you want to really kind of talk about the lesson, the big idea. Why do we learn this? And the idea is that this is still relevant today, that in order to get the government to reform problems, that those problems need to be brought to the attention of people. You can go back to the fire analogy. When you have a thesis in your opening, you come back to the thesis at the end. And maybe the smartest thing to do is to bring up an event or some type of current thing that is a problem today. So maybe you talk about global warming, if that's your thing, or you talk about animal abuse, if that's your thing, or you talk about hunger, and you talk about the need for muckraking. You'll get like 1,000,000 points, and you'd be a rock god. So there you go, guys. That would be the change essay on muckraking, or on how individuals can make a difference. It's a really great essay to have in your back pocket or your front pocket. It doesn't really matter. Just have it with you. Okay, guys? So there you go. Check the description below. We have other great EDU channels that you should check out. And if you haven't subscribed, I don't know what else to do. Maybe I'll write you a letter. I think that's a song. All right, where attention goes, energy flows, guys. I'm out. Hit the timer. It's done. There you go.